The moment Prince Harry walked into that high court, it wasn't just another royal headline, it was a full-blown implosion in a courtroom in real time. A prince marched in like a man on a mission and walked out looking like the mission swallowed him whole. Because this wasn't a calm, controlled fight for justice. This was a public unraveling, raw nerves, fraying patience, and a level of bitterness so thick you could practically hear it echo off the walls. And the worst part? This wasn't happening to him. This was happening because of him. Over 2 days, he didn't come across like a steady, wronged man with receipts and precision. He came across like someone dragging a lifetime of rage into the witness box and trying to call it evidence. He showed up as the plaintiff, but by the time the questioning really sank its teeth in, he looked like the most dangerous witness for his own case. Not because the other side had some magical trick, but because he couldn't stay consistent, couldn't stay contained, and couldn't stop treating the courtroom like it owed him emotional validation. He came in already loaded with his core story. The tabloid press ruined everything, invaded everything, poisoned everything. He painted it like a personal war, like he's been bleeding out for years, and the court was the one place left that could finally stitch him up. There was trembling anger, that tight, shaky voice people get when they're furious but trying to look noble. He leaned into misery, not casual misery, the kind that's meant to land like a gut punch. He talked about how his wife's life was made an absolute misery, how hearing people even suggest he doesn't have the right to privacy made him feel sick. You could feel him trying to make the room feel what he feels. But then the mood shifted, because court doesn't run on vibes. Court runs on specifics, dates, proof, clarity. And the minute cross-examination started tightening around him, his grip started slipping. The confidence wobbled. The neat storyline got messy. He didn't just answer, he pushed back. He didn't just explain, he sparred. And it started looking less like a man seeking justice and more like a man who cannot stand being questioned. That's the thing about sworn testimony. It doesn't care how hurt you are. Hurt doesn't replace facts. And it got ugly. Not tabloid ugly, courtroom ugly. The kind where you can sense the air getting tense because someone's losing control in a place where control is everything. He argued with a seasoned barrister like it was a personal insult that anyone would challenge his version of reality. He was pushed into admitting he didn't actually have evidence for certain sweeping claims, and you could almost hear the silent wince in the room. Because he's not just some random guy messing up. He's Prince Harry. Every stumble lands louder. Then came the kind of detail that makes a case feel like it's tilting. The pseudonym, the Mr. Mischief situation. This was not a little side note. This was the kind of thing that makes people lean forward. Because once the topic became whether he used a pseudonym to communicate with journalists on social media, his answers started reading less like honest clarity and more like dodging. Not just I don't remember. Not just I'm not sure. It was evasive in a way that makes judges go cold. And it got so stark that the judge himself had to press him for a clear answer. Imagine that. A royal being nudged like a misbehaving student. Stop circling. Answer properly. You don't want the judge stepping in like that unless things are already sliding. And once that happened, the whole performance changed flavor. It wasn't just emotional anymore, it was exposed. It looked like a man who believes his cause is so righteous that the annoying little inconvenience called precision shouldn't matter. Like truth is optional if the pain is big enough. Like the court is supposed to sympathize first and verify later. But courts don't work like that. And that's when the contradictions started screaming. Because here's the philosophical punch he tried to land. He rejects the idea that his life is open season to be commercialized, rejects the idea that public interest should mean whatever interests the public. He framed himself as this principled warrior for privacy. Except, come on, the world has eyes. This is the same man who turned his private life into a global business model, best-selling memoir, high-profile documentary series, big money media ventures, the whole personal saga packaged and sold like premium content. So when he stands there rejecting commercialization, it doesn't sound like he's against money being made off his life. It sounds like he's furious that someone else got to make it. The complaint doesn't feel like stop exploiting me. It feels like stop profiting without my permission. And the courtroom could feel that hypocrisy crawling across the floor. Then something even stranger emerged, the emotional imbalance. When he spoke about his ex-girlfriends, the pain sounded real, detailed, softened voice, sharp memories. He talked about how the press hounded them, damaged the relationships, caused suffering, and there was this haunting tenderness, like those wounds still live under his skin. But when he spoke about the alleged attacks on Meghan, the thing he's famously built so much of his public war around, the emotion sometimes sounded rehearsed, procedural, like he was repeating lines he said so many times they've turned into muscle memory. And that contrast didn't do him any favors, because it painted him as a man still trapped in the ghost of his past, even while trying to fight the battles of his present. And as pressure mounted, the wounded prince act cracked into something sharper, hostile, defensive, combative. He started pushing back against normal legal questioning like it was beneath him, like the barrister was being disrespectful simply by doing his job. And again, the judge had to step in. Polite, firm, but unmistakably corrective, your job is to answer the questions, not argue your case from the witness box. A royal prince being lectured on basic courtroom decorum. That moment alone told everyone watching what the real problem was. He doesn't seem to understand the system he's demanding to rescue him. He wants the authority of the institution without submitting to the discipline of it. He wants to be treated like a normal litigant when it benefits him, but not questioned like one when it makes him uncomfortable. And then came the line that made the whole room feel like it briefly stopped breathing. Not a legal point, not a carefully prepared statement, a plea. Daddy, help me please. A choked, spontaneous reach for his father, King Charles III, not as a monarch, not as the institution, but as dad. And according to the account in the script, that plea didn't get answered the way Harry wanted. The message was basically, you chose public war, you chose to torch the bridge, so now you don't get to sprint back across it the moment the flames touch your feet. No back door, no quiet rescue, no palace parachute. And suddenly, the whole courtroom spectacle made sense. Because beneath the righteousness, beneath the fury, beneath the I'm here for justice posture, there was a naked reality. He's isolated from his family, from the institution he once represented, and in that moment from the rules of the legal process itself. This wasn't just testimony, it was a public reckoning. A man renounced royal duties but still wants royal-level deference. A man denounces the system but wants the system's protection. A man demands privacy while selling his story to the highest bidder. And when the court didn't treat him like a sacred symbol, when it treated him like what he legally is in that room, a witness under oath, he didn't adapt. He flailed. And that flailing is what turned Prince Harry's court meltdown from a lawsuit into a national spectacle that people can't stop watching, not because they love him, but because they can't believe what they're seeing. Because what played out wasn't just legal pressure, it was emotional exposure under fluorescent lights. Every pause felt heavier. Every defensive answer felt louder. The fairy tale armor was gone, and in its place stood a man who looked stunned that his personal truth wasn't automatically being stamped as legal truth. That disconnect was brutal to watch. He seemed to believe sincerity should outweigh proof, that lived experience should silence scrutiny. But the courtroom kept dragging everything back to the same cold place. What can you actually show? What can you actually confirm? And when he couldn't, frustration leaked through the cracks. The sighs, the pushback, the subtle irritation at having to repeat himself like the rules applied to him the same way they applied to everyone else. That's the real sting of this whole saga. Not that he's fighting the press, but that for once the narrative wasn't his to control. It wasn't his to control. It wasn't his to